Module 1, Activity 1, Nature versus Nurture Controversy. Hello, my name is Robyn, and I'm going to be taking you through this presentation. Is depression physiological or psychological? This is a question one of you guys have asked me. The best answer I have for this comes from the information from the Journal of Philosophy, Psychiatry, and Psychology, published by the Johns Hopkins University Press. Glennon suggests depression is not a disorder of the brain alone or the mind alone. Depression often results when our beliefs and emotions are out of proportion to the true nature of external events. This statement leads the question, is depression nature or nurture? As you can read above, depression is a combination of the two. Often, our body is working with both nature and nurture. Our body is naturally tuned to keeping a homeostasis. When outside environmental factors create an imbalance within our body and mind, it creates the coping mechanisms and learned behaviors, strategies, and techniques to help regulate these emotions. Intelligence. One question that was also asked is whether intelligence is inherited or learned. Again, the answer to this question is both. Intelligence can be an inherited trait that is linked to behaviors associated with certain genes passed from parent to offspring. These genes can then be altered and influenced depending on your environment. Your environment can be viewed in a variety of ways. It can be expressed by your socioeconomic status influencing where you live. These factors can then translate into your resources and opportunities that are readily available to you or lack thereof. Further, your environment is shaped by the people in your life. Their values, beliefs, and effort given and passed down from your parents contribute to this environment. Need we not forget that this includes the genes passed down from your biological parents as well. All right, as we continue on with intelligence, you'll see that an example of intelligence as learned and inherited behavior is best illustrated by looking at Tryon's study of the maze-dole and maze-bright rats. Tryon experimented by breeding maze-bright rats, rats who were deemed more successful getting through a maze with fewer errors. He breeded these with other maze-bright rats. Further, he also selectively bred maze-dole rats. These were the rats determined to have made significantly more errors when getting through the same maze. He breeded these with other maze-dole rats. According to our text, after 21 generations, the worst of the maze-bright strain made fewer errors than the best of the maze-dole strain. You can see these differences displayed by figure 2.21 on this slide. If you look at generation 8, there's a distinct separation between the two types of rats bred. These findings by Tryon helps reinforce the idea that the trait of intelligence can be selectively bred. However, this was not the only trait that was passed down amongst these rats through selective breeding. Tryon found that the maze-bright rats were superior maze learners, not because they were more intelligent, but because they were less fearful, a trait that is not adaptive in many natural environments. Tryon's findings show that certain behaviors such as intelligence are linked within genes that are then influenced by the environment. Furthermore, Tryon tested the rats under different conditional environments. What he found is illustrated on the graph on this screen. You now see that the impoverished environment had a greater influence on the dull maze rat success. They made significantly more errors in this environment. This graph captures what I touched base on in the beginning of this presentation. Outside environmental factors such as socioeconomic status alone can have trickle-down effects on other environmental factors that will consequently influence certain inherited genes. Discriminatory practices in a workplace. So if you look at this, an interactionist view takes the position that behaviors are a result of interactions between the genetic and environmental factors. This goes hand in hand with my depiction of intelligence above. I explained how certain environmental factors can have a great influence on certain genes, thus affecting their future success or behavior. Now, let's take a look at this in regards to, as I introduced, discriminatory practices in the workplace. Unfortunately, the nature versus nurture debate on intelligence is often used as an excuse for racial discrimination. In social psychology course that I took a while back, we looked further into the opportunities that come from being white versus a minority. For instance, in the research article done by Harvard Business School, they found that minorities who were widened their job resumes got more interviews. You can see this depicted on the graph on this slide. If this is the case, now apply this to what we learned above and the effects on an environment can have on success. For example, the the Mays Dole rats that were placed in an enriched environment made the same number of mistakes as the Mays Bright rats. This environment positively influenced the Mays Dole rats. Furthermore, the Mays Dole rats in the enriched environment made significantly fewer mistakes than the Mays Dole rats in the impoverished environment, thus again illustrating how much the environment had an influence on those rats' success through the maze and the errors made. If individuals in the workplace are treated differently based on discriminatory practices, this will ultimately have a negative effect on their performance as a behavioral trait. By creating an unfair work environment, you're paving the way to success for certain individuals while derailing the path to success for minorities in the same workplace. Here are my resources that I used throughout this presentation. I really hope you enjoyed it and I was able to answer all your questions. Thank you.